Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report. Drew Martin, Teddy Covers. Episode 1 of the new season begins today, Monday, August 1st. And without further ado, Teddy Covers himself, NFL Opening Line Report style. Teddy, happy Monday morning to you, buddy.
Great to be here, Drew. What is this? I was trying to remember if it's year 19 or year 20. I don't remember if I started doing this in 2003 or 2004. Every Monday morning during football season. And so we've been doing it for a while. Hopefully we're pretty good at it by now. We'll do our best to put you on the right side of what these numbers are going to do, both in preseason and in regular season, every week, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 Eastern time.
Each and every Monday right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Follow Teddy on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Guys, we got NFL Opening Line Report here. We're doing how to bet preseason 101. We got the Hall of Fame game just 3-4 days away, Thursday night here. And then QB rotations. We're going to go over that, get some insights from Teddy Covers himself. So Teddy, preseason betting 101. You've been doing this for many years. I've started to get into it, had a little bit of success in the last couple years, but you've done it very well. Where would you like to start in terms of just 101 style, people looking to bet the preseason? Because one thing that I've gathered from talking to you, from talking to a lot of smart people in this business, NFL preseason in itself, this little niche that it is, can be a beatable sport. If you're putting in the time, it's about information. If you can find it, get ahead of some of these moves, you can make some money. So where do you want to start 101 style?
I'm going to start with exactly what you were talking about. Doing your homework, finding accurate local news sources that are going to tell you, here's your coach's quote, here's your coordinator quote. This is what we're trying to do this week. This is our game plan this week. Oh, we're worried about, we want to check the run game out in the second half. We want to make sure we can run the football. A lot of stuff is going to be in coach speak. They're not going to specifically tell you exactly what they're going to do. But if you can analyze the coach speak, you can really profit in NFL preseason action. And I guess what that leads to is maybe the single strongest take that I have for all the preseason, which is very simple. Bet facts, not opinions. This isn't about a time of year where you're like, oh, team A is better than team B. I mean, look at the Chiefs and the Bears. All right, week 1 of the NFL preseason. That's all you need to know about the preseason. All right, the Bears are taking under money every week. The Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders. And in week 1 of the preseason, the Bears are -2.5 at home against the Chiefs, which tells you it's not about how good these teams are, how good they're going to be in the regular season. It's about what the preseason matchups actually look like. And in the preseason, oftentimes it's the weaker teams that have the stronger positional battles in the second half, that have the stronger quarterback rotation in the second half. And of course, after halftime is when so many of these NFL games are decided against the point spread.
So
that's a start.
Yeah, it's wild. For sure. I mean, the Bears -2 in the hook against the Chiefs. That's Saturday, August 13th. Guys, we got a bunch of games coming up, starting August 11th. But we do have one Hall of Fame game here, August 4th, Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, Canton, Ohio. 101, 102, the rotation number, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific here, Teddy. Las Vegas Raiders, Jacksonville Jaguars. I've talked about it with you. The Jags, kind of my team, man. Second year with Lawrence at the helm, maybe making a step ahead. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. It's just kind of something I have circled here, but it's a pick 'em price. 32.5 being the total, depending where you're shopping. I was talking with Dan Alexander right before we started, Teddy, our great producer here for the NFL Opening Line Report. And I just said, look at that price tag, pick 'em 32.5. If you were walking up to like the local Pee-wee game and you wanted to bet your buddy, that'd be like a good starting point. Just, hey, this team's pick 'em 32.5. Just throw it out there, see what people bet. I don't know, man. It's low, but what do? Bet the under and just hope for the best? What are we liking here?
Yeah, I'll talk about that game in a few minutes, Drew. But
Okay.
I was just throwing back to you guys. I have so much more to talk about preseason overview stuff. I just didn't want to rattle on for 10 minutes in a row. So we'll absolutely break down. And we're seeing, FYI, we're seeing money on this game literally as we speak. On a normal Monday, we're doing a normal opening line report. I'm going to talk about this game first because the money's coming in now. But frankly, the move's already taken place at most books. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But when it comes to preseason overview stuff, again, betting facts, not opinions, finding the local news sources that are going to give you a sense of what teams are actually going to try to accomplish this game. That's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to NFL preseason. And I'm telling you, one thing I've done this last week is I go on the internet and as we all do, I'm looking around. What's out there for preseason info? What's out there for preseason betting 101? And I'm seeing a lot of garbage, a lot of stuff that is not going to help actual bettors, a lot of stuff written by people that haven't beaten the preseason ever. So I wanted to come out at the top and talk about stuff that's not garbage when it comes to the NFL preseason. And let me start with one more right here that is so important that nobody seems to talk about. Key numbers. Oh, yeah, 3 is so important in the NFL, and 7 is so important in the NFL. Not in August. The key number in August is 1, 1.5, 2. Every time a game is close late, the coach is always going to go for 2. They're never going to play for overtime. You have more games decided in August by less than a field goal than you will in any regular season week. Year after year, you're going to see a dozen games, 15 games decided over the course of the next few weeks by 1 or 2 points. That doesn't happen over the course of the regular season. So beware. The key numbers. Don't worry about the 3s. Don't buy on and off a 3 in the preseason or 7. Worry about the 1, 1.5, and 2. Those are the numbers that matters the most.
Yeah, because they're not going to want to push, right, Teddy? Like they're not going to want to tie in the preseason.
Yeah.
So
the whole second half is played to avoid overtime.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Whether they go for 1, whether they go for 2, whether they kick a field goal here, it's very, very rare. Tomlin, I remember seeing Tomlin kick a field goal once late to send a game to overtime in preseason, but that's really the exception. Like I remember the one time that happened. Coaches won't play for overtime, which means many more games get decided by 1 or 2 points in August than at any other stage of the season. That's the key number. And of course, that means a lot of times you have a 2-point favorite. The better bet is on the money line as opposed to the -2, given so many games actually get won by a single point. Every week you're going to see a 1-point win in the NFL preseason.
Makes total sense.
There's more to talk about
there, Teddy. Yeah. Let's get after it, man. You just take it away because I got some questions for you as well, like 101 style questions for people that might not bet the preseason. But I'll let you take it away, man.
Sure. So the number one bet against scenario for any team in August is cluster injury. It doesn't matter what position. Cluster injuries at linebacker, cluster injuries in the secondary, cluster injuries, running back. It might not matter. But when you have cluster injuries at wide receiver, a bunch of guys aren't playing this week, et cetera, et cetera. Cluster injuries at any position. When you've got a bunch of guys at the same position that are banged up, it creates coach doesn't want anyone else in that position to get hurt, so he's going to be real careful about the play calling and the minutes distribution and the play distribution of all the guys. And you end up with a bunch of guys who may not actually end up making any NFL rosters, getting a whole lot of playing time in games. And even if it's just one position group, think of a position group that doesn't matter in the NFL. There isn't one, So, maybe running backs. That's the one. Other than that, any position group is going to dramatically affect the coach's game plan. The teams with cluster injuries are teams to bet against if they're, again, all one position. A lot of talk about quarterback battles in August. All right. There's 2 things that I want to talk about with quarterback battles. One, The battle for the second string job is more important than the battle for the first string job when it comes to covering point spreads in August. There's two quarterbacks. They have a quarterback situation in Carolina where there's multiple QBs fighting for the starting job. Yes, they're going to get their chances, but when point spread outcomes get determined in the second half, it's going to be your third stringer and your fourth stringer and your nobodies. When you have a backup quarterback battle for the number 2 string, the second string job, what happens? The starter comes in and comes out. And then the second stringer and the third stringer are both going to get ample time and ample opportunities to throw the football around and show what they can do. We like teams throwing the football around in August. And those backup QB battles, teams that have a battle for the second string position tend to be bet on teams in August, far more than teams that have their first string and second string already set. They're going to give a lot of playing time to the guys that won't see any playing time in September. So that matters a lot. This is a key one, okay? When laying points, it's always, if everyone wants to, week 1, we've already seen the move come on Baltimore. It's still coming. That line was 2.5 at the open. Now I'm seeing 5s popping up, all right? And it's still only going one way. Everyone knows Harbaugh's 20 and up, all right? When you're laying points, we know there's a bet on with Baltimore, okay? You better make sure there's a bet against to go with your bet on. It's one thing if it's a -1, all right? You're playing them on the money line. But when you're starting to lay more than a field goal in the preseason, you want some bet on the one team. I get it. Make sure there's some bet against for the other team, in my opinion. And last but not least, of all the factors you want to consider when looking for those coaches' quotes, all right, the number one thing I'm looking for is when a defensive coordinator tells you he's going to blitz or he's not going to blitz. Right? Blitzing overwhelms inexperienced offensive line. Team that blitz in August cover point spreads. The Ravens 20-0 is not an accident. They blitz, and their coach cares about winning games in August. Those two factors together, boom, that's what you get. So be very aware what teams are going to be putting pressure on the line of scrimmage, what teams are going to be dropping in vanilla coverage. And the only way to find out that info is you dig, or you get on board with someone who does the digging for you. So there's the preseason overview 101 type of stuff. Go to town, Drew. What do you got for me?
Okay, a couple questions here. One, you bring up the blitzing. Is there any rules differences between the NFL preseason and the NFL regular season?
Like in terms of blitzing? Or
well, that was one because in some of these like college like the Senior Bowl or so, I don't think it's exactly the Senior Bowl, but there's other games where they'll play and it's like you can't blitz, things of that nature. But there's none of that in the NFL, right? No. It's all the same rules, correct?
Yeah, and that's why we like blitzing. And again, any of those coaches' quotes, when you're looking through the beat writers, and a lot of times you're scrolling down to the end, to the bottom where they have the little tidbits, and you get a quote from a defensive coordinator saying, yeah, we're going to test out our blitz package this week. That's as strong a bet on quote as you can find in August. And a lot of time, again, it's not the headline of the story, not even the middle of the story. You're scrolling all the way down to the bottom. That's where you find those quotes. And that's a strong, bet on situation historically. And again, when I see a coach saying, yeah, we want to test our blitz package this week, that's bet on all the way. And it's not under necessarily because the team who's getting blitz is going to turn the ball over. All right, it's August. They're backup offensive linemen and third string offensive linemen. When you turn the ball over inside your own 20, you get the cheap. I mean, that your under nightmares in preseason are not long, slow, extended drives. Your under nightmares in the preseason are when you get a couple of quick strike touchdowns off of busted plays or interceptions, return touchdowns, or that sort of thing. So the blitzing for me, not an indication to play the under, an indication to play that team who's going to be blitzing.
Teddy, a question for you, just where the numbers are setting up. Like you kind of already mentioned it, laying more than a field goal in the preseason. I mean, there aren't many games on the board, guys, looking at the WagerTalk odds screen where there is a number over 3. In fact, Baltimore is the only one I'm seeing, and now they're laying 4.5 or 5, and it opened 2 in the hook. Every other game is 3.5 or less, and that 3.5 is Buffalo versus Indianapolis. Every other game is 3 or less. Teddy, these totals, though, I mean, I'm seeing 31, 33, 33.5. One, they're all very low, but 2, there isn't a whole lot of, it's all within 3 numbers, which tells me, are the odds makers just kind of throwing numbers out there and they don't really know, or why is that the case?
So 2 things in response to that question. First, when we talk about first to market, all right, DraftKings has been very aggressive at being first to market.
Mm-hmm.
DraftKings has been putting up numbers that are, how do I phrase this politely? The wise guys like to bet into DraftKings numbers first. All right, so when DraftKings puts up a dumb number when you first saw that 2.5 number, like, this isn't going to hold. You got to bet this today. Bet on the money line today. It was a bad number, flat out. And they if Baltimore wins and covers, DK will play the price for that, for sure. Now I've lost track. What was it? There was something specific that you were asking me about that I
just like from low to high on the totals. The low total is 31. Yeah. The high total is 35. There's not a lot of difference.
So you asked the question of, did they just throw up a bunch of numbers and that's that? Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, that's what preseason is. You throw up a 2.5 and a 34 for week 1, and that's the line.
Right.
Literally, that's what and remember, this is not a virgin marketplace. When we come in normally on a Monday morning during the regular season, we've got all these numbers are brand new, the virgin numbers. We got a chance to attack them. These are stale numbers. They've been up for weeks. They've been up for months. I don't forget what they're up. They've been up for more than a month, certainly. And I think may well have been months. So it's not a fresh virgin market on a Monday morning like we'll have 2 weeks from now after week 1 of the NFL preseason. We're talking about week 2. So for week 1 of the preseason, it's basically 2.5 and 34, and we'll adjust slightly for each, adjust slightly for every team. But you don't expect to, they always say that defenses are ahead of the offenses early on, which they are. Mm-hmm. You don't expect to see coaches airing it out. You don't expect to see a lot of coaches. You don't expect to see the red zone execution particularly good. You don't expect to see the second half offenses marching up and down the field. So that's why the totals are where they are. But if there's any info out there, if you can find info on any of this stuff, again, with this narrow range of totals, obviously you find info one way or another, there may well be room for that.
Okay. And do you even with the low totals, last question here, Teddy, do you find yourself still betting unders, early in the preseason, or it really depends on the matchup?
I'm going to talk about the Hall of Fame game in a minute.
All right. Should we get into it?
Make a case for the over.
Okay. Are we ready to go there, or a little bit more?
Absolutely. Yeah. So with the preseason overview, I just wanted to make sure, because again, there's a lot of bad info out there. All right, a lot of info out there from people that don't beat preseason, that like to write articles about preseason because that's when the clicks are coming. All right. Mm-hmm. The way to beat preseason, actually beat it, is take a look at some of the preseason 101 stuff at the top of this video. And that's why I wanted to go a little bit long there, Drew. But I'm absolutely ready to switch over and start talking about some games. And namely, there's only one this week, and the lines are moving as we speak.
All right, guys. Yeah, we'll get into it. And to piggyback off of what Teddy was talking about, like Teddy talked about at the open, he's been doing this show for 20-ish years. A mainstay in the industry, as many he's beat this market many times in the past. He knows what he's doing. Some of his and by the way, guys, check out his NFL opening line report, or not opening line report, season win totals at WagerTalk, sportsmemo.com. But what I was getting at, Teddy, is you're right. There's just a lot of information out there, really in sports betting overall, with the growth. I mean, you probably get it as well on Twitter, just like offers from different sports books, like, hey, will you write this article? We'll pay you. And they're pretty much just looking at following of your Twitter following and then offering you money to get people to go to their sports book. And they're not really doing the research over who's winning, who's losing over the long term. So just know that is happening in the sports betting world. So what Teddy's talking about in terms of information being posted out there that may or may not be good information is definitely happening. But Teddy, let's get into go ahead, man.
Let me jump in, because I mean, I don't know what other way to phrase it. It's a giant circle jerk. Okay. Is what this guy writes something, and then this guy reads it, and then he's writing that same something, and this guy reads it, and he's writing that same something. And I mean, it's like one of these deals where, where I talk to Brian Leonard and Brian talks to Marco and Marco talks to Ralph, and all of a sudden we're like, everybody's on whoever, and there's only the one guy who's on whoever, But when you talk about these articles that are getting written, and again, there's no barriers to entry. All right, I've been doing this for 20 years. Good luck with those of you who are trying to get your info or whatever. Everyone wants clicks. It's about clickbaiting. I don't care about clickbaiting. I care about good info and winning. And that's what we're going to try to do all year long on this show, every Monday morning. Hall of Fame game.
Monday morning.
Let's break it down.
10 a.m. Pacific time, guys. Mark it down as we got the game. We're breaking it down here. What to bet, what to stay away from. Las Vegas Raiders, Jacksonville Jaguars, 8 p.m. prime time, Eastern time. 32.5 at most books. Pick'em price, seeing some -1 at DraftKings. That's Jacksonville is the short favorite. Everywhere else on the WagerTalk odds screen at Pick'em. Teddy, what are we thinking? Raiders and Jags to kick us off this season.
Now, last night, the Raiders were -1.5 / -2. And those basically got taken out this morning. And I'm not surprised that they got taken out this morning when you're considering the track record of these two coaches. Two first-year head coaches, McDaniels for the Raiders, Peterson for the Jaguars, but both guys have track records from previous stops. I'm not interested in what they were doing 4 years into their previous stop, 5 years into their previous stop. I don't know what they did year one in their previous stop, maybe year two. And McDaniels in Denver didn't care one iota. Didn't care even a little bit about winning in August. Maybe that has something to do with the Broncos, but we're talking about a team that, again, played 8 preseason games in 2 years for McDaniels. They won one of them. Peterson came into Philadelphia trying to change a culture, trying to change a franchise. At the other end of this spectrum, he won 7 of his first 8 preseason games over the first 2 years. So there's a thought process here that McDaniels doesn't care all that much, and Peterson does. Hence, at least some of the money coming for Jacksonville. And of course, when you talk about a team like the Raiders, a team with playoff aspirations, the extra preseason game, what's the most important thing? Don't get anybody hurt. The Jaguars, a team with no playoff aspirations, what's the most important thing? Establish a new culture, get everyone up to speed on what we're trying to do. So all of these factors do favor Jacksonville. I'm not surprised at all that the money has come for the Jaguars. When it comes to the total for this game, look, Hall of Fame games are unique in a sense in that they're always ugly. Doesn't even matter if it's a high-scoring game. There's no beauty in the Hall of Fame game. You're going to see missed blocks, missed assignments, quarterbacks wrong routes, quarterbacks throwing over here when it should be over there. That is the nature of the beast for the very first game of the season. A game where the players aren't coached up for. No one's got a game plan. It's just, yeah, let's go play this thing and get back to practice. So you generally see some pretty ugly Hall of Fame games. And as a result of that, see a lot of low scoring Hall of Fame games, even at this low total, all right, 32.5. And that includes a half-point loser in 2018, a game that finished 17-16 in the Hall of Fame game. Even at 32.5, 6-3 to the under in the last 11 years. 2 games got canceled, one for the lockout, one for field conditions. But you just don't see a lot of Hall of Fame games that produce points in bunches. If I'm playing this one, I would look at the Jaguars. I would look at the under. I haven't pulled the trigger on either just yet. I did use the under in my big game breakdown today on WagerTalk today, and I may well play that before this day is through. I was hoping to find a 33. Don't think it's going to get there. Even the 32.5. I can only play that game under the total.
Yeah, I like that stat, looking towards the under in the Hall of Fame game. First game up, guys, and it's just kind of a singled out game here. Teddy, we got the next and final kind of thing we're going to talk about here for episode 1 of the NFL opening line report, QB rotations. Just reading it out here, I'm seeing Trevor Lawrence for Jacksonville Jaguars, CJ Beathard, who might have an injury, and then Jake Luton, Kyle Sloter, and for the Raiders, Derek Carr, Jared Stidham, Nick Mullins, and Chase Garbers in order. Any opinion there, kind of when you were talking about backup third-string quarterback coming into the price point? of an advantage for one of these QB rooms?
I don't think so. It doesn't look like one to me. Do you see? Do you want Jake Luton and EJ Perry, or do you want Chase Garbers and Nick Mullins? Mullins might be the better of the two, but this is the key thing here for quarterback rotation. And I want to talk about this right at the top. Okay. What you're going to see in all the preseason guides is QB rotations, QB rotations, QB rotations. That's not real. Okay. The QB rotation for any given game is what the coach says the QB rotation is going to be for that given game. So you might look at your guide that was written, and even great. Ralph Michaels' preseason guide is outstanding. Okay. It's absolutely worth having on your desk every day. But the quarterback rotations listed there are not going to be the actual QB rotations game in, game out. The only way you get that info is by digging. Sometimes the coach will tell you. Sometimes the coordinator will tell you. Sometimes the quarterbacks themselves will tell you. The quotes are what matter, not something that's written on paper about what the QB rotations are going to be. And this is a key factor, okay? I remember getting burned with this. It was one of these scenarios where there was a battle for second and third string QBs. I don't remember what team it was. But I'm like, this is a great scenario. Second string QB, third string QB. They're going to be chucking the football around. Oops. I missed the coach's quote saying, yeah, we're going to work on our running game this week. So you had the QB battle, and I think they threw 6 passes combined in the second half of that ball game. They were running the football. It wasn't a game where they were working on who's going to win the backup QB job. So, yeah, you can have all these QB battles, but if that's not what the coach is working on that game, it doesn't matter. All right. Oh yeah, we've got a great guy coming as a third. CJ Beathard's coming as a third stringer. Great, but if Beathard ain't throwing the ball, it don't matter. If he's handing the ball off, you can have that great quarterback as your third stringer, the guy who started games, and he's not going to throw the ball. And when he does, it's going to be on 3rd and long, throwing to an 8th string receiver that's not going to make the roster, and the ball he's going to be triple covered, and he's throwing it away. So beware of just looking at QB rotations and going, this is what the game plan is. This is what that's not what the game plan is. The game plan is what the coaches are telling you.
Great information, Teddy. I got some questions for you with this quarterback rotation, kind of for the overall NFL preseason. But hey, I know you got jam packed with information, man. Did you want to throw other things out about QB rotations in general for the NFL preseason?
Yeah, I'm going to go through some of the QB rotations and talk about what looks good and what looks bad on paper. But in terms of just going through them team by team, and you look at the Bills with Keenum and Barkley. That's a good QB rotation after Josh Allen comes out of the game. But Buffalo is a team that I think this August is going to be spending a lot of time working on running the football. So even with Keenum and Barkley, if that duo, again, if they throw 6 passes in the second half, that's not the QB rotation you thought you were going to get. So betting on the Bills in a spot like this, you want the coach's quotes to go with the QB rotation. It's not just the QB rotation alone.
I like it, Teddy. Yeah, it makes total sense what they're doing. It goes back to the last point. It's got to kind of go together in what the team's wanting to do. What other QB rotations you liking?
And there's one last thing that just I keep finding things that makes me nuts, and I'll start going through some quarterback rotations. But it's the one where a team played poorly last week, all right, and everyone's like, you read these, the captain's like, oh well, the coach is really mad they played poorly. No, he's not. It's August. If the starters got clocked in week 1 of the preseason in August, what the coach wants is the starters to play a little bit better this week. Doesn't mean that he wants to win the game. Doesn't mean in the second half he's going balls to the wall to win. It just means, you find these teams coming off a bad loss in August, and people are like, this is meaningful. No, it isn't. It's not. It's just, if the starters play better, the coach will be much happier next time, even if they lose once again the following week. QB rotations, you want to run through them? You tell me. There's Why does Baltimore have a good QB rotation? Why? Again, another reason why the Ravens so good. Look at the quarterbacks. All the quarterbacks they have in the roster: Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley, Brett Huntley, Anthony Brown. All right,
mobility.
All 4 of them are mobile QBs. They can all run with the football. What happens in August? Plays break down. Every other play breaks down. Certainly week 1, week 2 of the preseason. You see a lot of flawed offensive execution when you have a quarterback that can turn nothing into something. The scramblers are the QBs I love in the second half of these games, and the Ravens have had those on the field and have them again this year, which once again makes them, in theory, a good bet. Then you look at a team like Atlanta with Mariota, who's learning the new. I mean, he's not learning the new system, but he is. And then you have Felipe Franks and Desmond Ridder, 2 guys with basically no experience whatsoever after Mariota's out of the game. Does that make Atlanta a bet on or a bet against team? Well, if they're chucking the football around, if we get quotes from Arthur Smith saying, hey, I'm going to see what Franks can do, I'm going to see what Ridder can do, those might not be bad things against third-string defenders. Atlanta has some bet on potential, even with a QB rotation that looks crappy on paper, because situationally, I'd expect them to be chucking the football around more than some other team. Now, Carolina's got the QB battle with Mayfield and Darnold that everyone's all excited about. Over under when Matt Corral starts. Week 3? Week 6?
Really? Wait, is he 100% though? I mean,
no.
With his yeah.
He isn't, but I'll put it this way: the Mayfield, Darnold, again, when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. There's going to be some betting market support for Carolina because they have the QB battle in August, in theory, and 2 veterans at the top. And then P.J. Walker, who's going to come off the bench in theory, and Walker's a type of QB. You like a mobile quarterback with some experience in the fourth quarter. P.J. Walker is exactly that QB. Carolina is going to be a popular team in the betting markets, and I wouldn't be surprised if they cover some point spreads here this August.
Okay, Teddy, any other names of quarterbacks you're looking to bet on, or maybe even fade? Like quarterbacks out there, a backup quarterback that just isn't going to really bring it on the field.
Well, so there's no one that is not going to bring it on the field because every August there's a surprise or 2 or 3 or 4, and some of these QB rotations, like the Chargers are going to bring in Chase Daniel and Easton Stick, who've done very well. Stick's a guy who cost me a preseason bet once or twice in recent years. Minnesota with Mond and Mannion. That's not a bad QB duo. Been reading a lot about Bailey Zappi from Western Kentucky. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time for New England, which may not be a particularly a good scenario. On and on down the line. Let's see. Pittsburgh, obviously, is a scenario in which everything is up for grabs. The Steelers are likely, with Trubisky, Pickett, and Rudolph all fighting for whoever's going to get whatever. That's a team that has the potential to have a very interesting and a very profitable preseason. But of all the coaches, Tomlin stands out. The coaches 99% of the time are going to tell you what they're going to do, and Tomlin stands out to me of telling me he's probably the one coach who, you read his quotes and you're like, are they going to do this? And then you watch him on the field and they're going to do that. And after the game, he's like, yeah, I changed my mind. Tomlin's quotes we take with a grain of salt. So that certainly stands out in that regard. And, of course, Tampa with Brady and Gabbert. Take the under on how much playing time Brady and Gabbert are going to have this August. The QB rotation for Tampa may be real ugly, and they may be very much a bet against team like Tennessee with Willis and Woodside behind center. That's not exactly a bet on duo either. I'd be interested to see what happens in Washington as well. When you talk about third star and fourth stringers that I'm not excited about, that Howell-Cole combination there has potential to make some ugly early results for the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, you bring up that Tampa Bay situation, a little fade situation there, and they start off Sunshine State battle, seeing it pick them in 34. That's for next week, so we can still talk about that one. But Teddy, a question for you. Well, let me just stay on quarterbacks. I have a question with the lines as well. But you bring up a lot of these kind of names from college. Does college production matter? Is that something you kind of handicap? We have younger quarterbacks playing in the preseason. Is that something you're translating how they did in college to the preseason, or no? It's a totally different ball game.
I mean, not much, but on the one hand, we watch a lot of college football. All right, we come into the NFL preseason with some opinions on these former college quarterbacks who are making their NFL debuts. You don't want to overreact to what you saw in college by any stretch of the imagination. It's a whole new offense, a whole new situation, a whole new skill position, level of skill position talent around them. But at the same time, you're not going to take your full opinions from college. When you're watching these kids play at the collegiate level, you're like, yeah, this guy's got a chance at the NFL. This guy, not so much. Mond was a guy I always made fun of. The M's for mediocre. So to talk him now as being a potential bet on QB in August, again, it's there's no hard and fast rules. All right, there's no shortcuts. There's no easy way to do this. If you follow step A and step B, it's very clear you're going to end up at step C. That's not the preseason. The preseason is taking the information you can find, filtering it through your brain to see does this information offer betting opportunity in this ball game, and then betting it while you're still getting the best of the number before everyone else catches up.
I like it. Good point there. When you're watching college football each and every Saturday, or really Thursday night, Friday night now, you can see that kind of jump off the field at you as you're watching it. Like Tyler Huntley is a name where he was at Utah. Nobody was really talking about him. But if you were betting on Utah, you saw he was covering numbers and you're like, man, could this guy actually play quarterback in the NFL just because he was running around so much? But sure enough, here he is. One of the better backups, in my opinion, in the NFL. Teddy, what about leading indicator books in the preseason? Is there any difference? Is DraftKings one of these leading indicator books? Because I am seeing they will go off market with a little bit of an opinion on some of these games.
DraftKings is not a leading indicator book.
Okay.
DraftKings, I will give DraftKings all the credit in the world. They put up early numbers. They put up aggressive early numbers. And they take the action that corresponds with it. When you're first to market, or one of the first to market, there'll often be variance. But when it comes to leading indicator books, DraftKings, how do I phrase this politely, is not responsive to winning bettors. So the winning bettors often are forced to bet elsewhere. So the leading indicator books are what the winning bettors are telling us is going on a Sunday night / Monday morning. DK doesn't have that information because they've chosen as their business model to limit or decline the action from the players that would give them the opportunity to shade their numbers, like the sharp market would, like the books that cater to sharp bettors do.
Okay. Guys, huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody coming in, watching us live right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. We got Have, Chris in the house. We got England in the house from the other side of the pond. Welcome in Paul Blakeney from Essex, England. Abel in the house. Raven, Ron, all of you guys. We got a question here. Jimmy Underwood, 13. First week regular season lines are out. Do you jump on the number now or wait in case of injury? Any advice there, Teddy?
So in terms of injuries, you're gonna if you bet a game now and there's an injury in that game, halftime's gonna hurt you, halftime's gonna help you. There's no advantage necessarily to waiting to bet a game in September where the line's going to move. So this is my thought process for week one. All right. I posted one week one play over at WagerTalk and sportsmemo.com, and I posted it because I still can't believe this line. I'm like, I think it's a bad number. I'm like, I got to post this now. And the lines, the money's still coming in that direction since I posted. But when you look at the betting markets are likely to overreact to what they see in August when it comes to week one. And certainly injuries are going to affect any week one line. Significant injuries But we're not going to be able to predict right here who is going to get hurt, which teams are going to come out of August banged up, and which are going to come out healthy. The majority of teams will not have significant injuries, and a handful of teams will. So you take that risk when you make a bet early. But if you see the number moving on some of this stuff, I posted the Jets. The Ravens when they were 4.5 or 5 against the Jets. I'm like, this line can only move in one direction. It's going to be Baltimore money in week 1. And we've seen that Baltimore money already. And there's still going to be more Baltimore money. The 6 are going to be 7 by opening day. One would think. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that number. So if you're betting stuff now, the whole concept is you want to bet now with numbers that aren't going to be there. If the number's still going to be there 3 weeks from now, why would you bet early? You can get more info 3 weeks from now. So this is all about just trying to beat the markets and bet stuff early for week 1. And in order to beat the markets and accurately gauge which way these lines are going to move, certainly injury is going to be one piece of the equation, but the preseason schedule is going to be another. And when a team looks good in week 2, now the week 2 is a regular season walkthrough, I believe it'll be this year. When a team looks good in week 2, they're going to get betting market support, and we'll see that right off the bat. So there will be some moves based on how teams look in August, but those aren't stuff you can predict right now. What you can predict right now is that the hot teams are going to take money against the not teams, and that includes games like the Jets and the Ravens week 1.
We got NBA Jay Money in the house. What is up, Jay? We got Deep Fried Ty saying, first of all, Deep Fried Ty, cool name. Which books are leading indicator books? I would say Westgate, Circa, Chris, and Pinnacle. Any others you would throw out there, Teddy?
Sure, that's a good 4 right there. Chris, Penny, Westgate, Circa. I have no problem putting BOL on that list when you talk about in the global market. I have no problem putting South Point on that list when you talk about here in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So certainly there are other global books, and I really shouldn't be even mentioning global books names on the show. There are multiple global books that you can put in the where the sharp money is going, leading indicator books. But here in Vegas, it's certainly Westgate, Circa, South Point. Rank them in any order you want. But if you look at those 3 books and compare that to your William Hill, Station, DK, you'll get you can clearly see in some games that there is a sharp square dichotomy, or recreational pro dichotomy is really the better way to play it. Say it.
Okay. And guys, this is the NFL preseason kind of preview 101 style. Next week, we'll have more games to break down, each and every game going down like normal for the NFL opening line report. But make sure to check out Teddy Covers, guys. Number 1 at WagerTalk in terms of net units of profit since February 8th. So getting kind of a little bit of a longer term trend there, Teddy. You're sitting in the 1 seed, seeing it well. And of course, his NFL season wins 94-44. That's 68% the last 20 years. Going to want to get that report if you haven't already. He's also 15-3 in the 5% big tickets. It's all not all front loaded either, guys. He's been winning in recent years as well, and you get to read the analysis. Teddy, we're coming up against the time wise, man, but I do want to throw it over to you if we missed anything. Well, what else you want to get out there to the watchers?
That's all I got, man. It's week 1. It's Hall of Fame week. We have a whole season to go. And, of course, we go right through the Super Bowl every Monday on the opening line report, Drew Martin and myself. And next week, we'll break down every preseason game for week 1, talk about where the numbers are, where they're going to move, and why they're going to move in that direction. So you better come back. Between now and then, good luck.
If you like the NFL, mark it down, guys. 10 a.m. Pacific time, Mondays, WagerTalk YouTube channel. Teddy Covers, Drew Martin. We're signing out. Best of luck in the Hall of Fame game, guys. Let's watch this game. Hey, maybe look towards the under. Maybe look towards the Jags. Best of luck any way you're betting on it, guys.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. When all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25